Well, welcome to another edition of GW Unspoken, where we discuss stuff we don't typically talk about, but probably should. And I've got a very special guest here who's smiling across from me. Introduce yourself, special guest. Who are you?
Good evening. I am Mrs. Rachel Woodford.
How does that go? How does that go with the little marriage thing in front of it? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Still quite alarming, really, but
how's the signature going? How's the signature going? Is that going okay?
Yeah, it's all right.
Catch that? It's RW now instead of RC.
Yeah, I think I still do a bit of both.
Okay. Describe yourself in 60 seconds.
Mother, I was going to say lunatic, but yes, mother, wife, business owner, good friend,
Okay.
good family member. Love my family and friends, yeah.
Okay. I was going to start talking about that. So we're going to go back into the start of Rachel's journey and let's go childhood. Because a few things happened in your childhood. When I first met you, I found out that you lost your parents early or something, didn't you? So let's get straight into that.
Yes, I was 3, turning 4 when my father was killed off a horse. And I was there with my mum. And then I was 8 when my mum died of breast cancer.
So then what happened then? Like what? I can't even imagine what that would be like.
I was very lucky to have a beautiful auntie who already had 5 children, who then raised her and her husband raised my 2 brothers and I. So there was 8 of us, me being the youngest.
And how was that? How was that with like 8 kids and you being young? Were you spoiled or were you like last one to the meal? Or how'd that work?
No, there was not a lot of time left for lots of love and nurture. It was get in and get it done and pull your head in and behave yourself or look out.
Okay. And so how did it go? Like obviously difficult talking about losing your folks when you were younger, but has it changed, shaped your life? Then you see people who have got parents or a parent, like do you think it's built resilience or anything else in your life?
Yeah, I think it's definitely built resilience. I think it's also built an incredible capacity for entrepreneurship because I didn't really have the structure or the rules. You know, it was difficult for us to be closely monitored or managed, I suppose, growing up. So we had to figure a lot of stuff out ourselves. So I think that sort of held me in good stead, that I'm pretty good at finding the workaround for most things, yeah.
But do you think there's a problem a lot these days with kids because they haven't gone through real adversity and real resilience? Like do you see that compared to what you had growing up?
Oh, it's so hard to judge. I mean, it's really easy to say, yeah, they're not as strong or resilient or capable like we were, but I think they've got different strengths. I do struggle with it a little bit. I find it difficult sometimes to show empathy around kids not having a go at being independent or sort of trying to solve problems. I prefer to see children sort of be given the tools and then make the most of that. I think sort of spoon-feeding kids is definitely the wrong thing.
Yeah. Okay. And what about schooling for you? What was primary school like then? So obviously you lost your parents when you were younger, probably what, grade 2, grade 3, and then into primary school. Whereabouts were you?
So I was at a little state school, but then after Mum died, we moved to the Catholic school, which is where Auntie Madge's kids were.
Yeah.
And then state school for high school, then girls' school for finishing school.
For high school?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay, now you just jumped through 12 years of schooling. I'm not going to let you get away with that too early. So I just said, how was primary school? And you just went primary school, high school. And that was it. So what was it like primary school? Were you bullied? Was it primary school fun? What did you like high school more than primary school?
No, primary school was a nice little Catholic school. So I just remember working really hard and really enjoying school. It was fun. I loved art and all the creative things. It was good.
Yeah.
Still strict, Catholic school, nuns.
Yeah.
But I liked it. Yeah.
That was at primary or secondary?
Primary.
Okay. And then what about secondary school then?
And then secondary school, went from being, in a...
The face is changing.
I think... Well, a little Catholic school was pretty small, so when I went to high school it was big and exciting and lots of fun, lots more people. So... You
need to expand a little bit more on that.
You'd like me to.
Yeah.
I
were you
went
bullied?
from
Did you enjoy school? What subjects did you like?
So many questions. I really liked school. I loved art, English and drama. They were the 3 that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I was bullied a little bit, but that's, I think, like lots of us, I think everyone's gone through a bit of that. And then I kind of got into a bit of trouble. I probably started to have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about a few things that had gone on, and discovered boys. And I probably had a bit of a self-destruct pattern happening, I think. And so got to a point where youngest of 8, my auntie and uncle had enough, and I got sent to school in Sydney.
Okay.
Finished schooling, yeah.
Year 11, 12?
I was 14 turning 15.
Yeah.
So going into year 11 was young. And then, living at a home.
Okay.
Or going to school.
And how was that there? Did things change then?
I was still pretty problematic at that stage, I think. And I was just very blessed to have a brother that didn't give up on me.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting Defence Force housing because he was in the army. He's older than me, a lot older.
Yeah.
And I ended up living in Defence Force housing while he was out bush 10 months of the year. So that wasn't maybe ideal either, but I made a promise to him that I would finish year 11 and 12, and so I saw that through.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you said back before that, and you said you sort of went off the rails a little bit, or, was testing the boundaries a bit, and you said you're bullied a bit, was there something in particular you're bullied about? Because I know there's a lot of people get what they classify as bullying these days, but a lot of it might be just conflict.
We were clearly an Aboriginal family, and that was not something that people talked about when I was growing up. Not in the country town that I lived in. There was a lot of shame around our Aboriginality. Both my mum's parents were Aboriginal, but we were raised to deny it, not discuss it. I mean, to be honest, we didn't really realise, a lot of us, until we started getting bullied about it, probably in high school, or because mum and dad had died. I think the principal had approached Madge and Frank about some ab study, some additional financial support for the family, and that just did not happen in our family. You just did not ever take a handout. You were incredibly hardworking. You're a good citizen. You earn your way. So I think that sort of started to unravel a bit because the family had worked really hard to hide it because they didn't want to be associated because of the shame and the fact that my family had gone through their own sort of hardships as a result of being Aboriginal. And so then it was because I was half caste, the Indigenous girls would beat me up. And
the actual Indigenous.
They were a pretty tough crew, and I sort of didn't fit. I wasn't not Indigenous and I wasn't black enough, so it was sort of in a middle ground. But yeah, I mean, definitely taught me how to look after myself.
But you're a proud Indigenous woman, so that must have been pretty tough even back then, and even from your family denying it too. Like, were you sort of caught in between then, and were you thinking, well, why aren't we sticking up for ourselves here? What was it?
To start with, I came from a family where you didn't really question the adults. That just wasn't a thing. But my grandfather died first, and I remember his funeral. There was a little Aboriginal lady who'd done a ceremony over his grave, so that was quite an eye-opener for all of us. And then my grandmother passed, and a whole busload of Aboriginal family turned up, and we were like, all right, that's enough now. The gig's up. It's very obvious that we are an Aboriginal family. Why have we worked so hard to not, step into that or be proud of it? So being proud of being Aboriginal was definitely not something I was raised with.
Yeah.
Although I remember that both my grandparents were very highly regarded by their Aboriginal families.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of shame, a lot of pain. My grandfather was a military policeman in World War II. My grandmother was a domestic. There is a story within my family that my mum and my aunt and their brother, my uncle, were removed from my grandmother. So, and again, without trying to make too much of my family uncomfortable about this, there was the shame of the fact that my grandfather was born from a non-Indigenous father who was very renowned in the community, and his Aboriginal mother, obviously. So he grew up in a very small country town where his non-Indigenous family were not allowed to say that they were related to him, and yet that non-Indigenous father still was involved in my Indigenous family's life. He would show up giving Christmas gifts to my grandfather's children, my mum and her siblings. And so I think my grandfather would have always carried the shame of not being able to be acknowledged, despite his father clearly loving him and respecting him. And later in life there was a lot of cattle droving and property ownership, and a lot of that was all mixed in together. They were all working together. They were driving cattle. My grandfather's a real pioneer. He built the Noondock General Store that still stands there today. He built the Jackie Barker hut that is heritage listed in the National Park on Wrights Road. And my grandparents were incredibly respected within our community. So it's a bit of a different story to maybe what Aboriginal Australia's story has been, that despite the removals or the hardship or the denying of Aboriginality, there was still a great deal of respect for my grandparents.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I would say that's come to light later on through my own journey and working in Indigenous education is that through Auntie Judy Wicks, she taught me about the exemption certificate, and that exemption certificate was a piece of paper that if Aboriginal people agreed to sign, that they would not be known as an Aboriginal person, they would not speak language, and they would not associate with their Aboriginal family, then they would be given the rights that all non-Indigenous people had: land, better jobs, better access to things, respect. And so there is a belief, and we're still looking into it, but we think potentially my grandfather signed that certificate because he was awarded a soldier's settlement, which is pretty much unheard of, that Aboriginal men would be awarded that. So there's a bit of stuff we're still finding out about. But as part of that journey, as part of my grandparents' funerals, that started the entire family on a discovery journey that hasn't really stopped. And we're very proud and very lucky to, I guess, have stepped into our Aboriginal history and honour and celebrate that now too.
Yeah, and you're obviously very proud of that, and met some of your family too, very proud Indigenous people. But also what blew my brain when we first met was you had the opportunity later in life with business to use funding that was available through Indigenous to even save programs, and you still said no, you weren't going to do that. Is there a reason why you did you still feel like that was an influence from the past, or?
Yeah, I think by birthright as an Aboriginal person you carry a lot of shame. And certainly when you've been involved in bullying, or, my own son who's 20, he's going through his own experience of that you never quite feel like you're good enough. There is always this shame associated with your Aboriginality. Even when you think, you've been incredibly successful in life, there's the commentary just comes from somewhere when you least expect it about the deficit or the unconscious bias around your Aboriginality. So yeah, I think like I was raised, we just wanted to make our own way. And I think, don't get me wrong, there has been Aboriginal programs I've been involved in funding for and things that have directly helped young Indigenous kids, but just too proud, I think. And maybe that's a weakness on my behalf, but have always just wanted to stand on my own. Yeah.
And have we come a far way now to close the gap yet, or what? How are you feeling about some of the ceremonies that happen and the national anthem? There's lots of things we could talk about and go into, but how are you personally feeling about that stuff?
Look, I have really strong heritage on both sides, not just Aboriginal. My grandfather was British, grew up in South Africa, very, very, very strong English grandmother who spoke like Margaret Thatcher and seriously, and was very intimidating, but raised me also again to be very independent and capable. And so I don't disown that side either, but because I'm so involved in Aboriginal Australia with my work, there is no doubt I was devastated by the result of referendum, and it's not so much all components being met, but I still can't understand how we can't be acknowledged in our own constitution and why the truth-telling is so difficult for us to get to as a country. But because I'm involved in it in such a deep way with business, it won't change anything. I mean, Aboriginal people will continue to move forward. They will continue to use resilience and strength and entrepreneurship and culture and community. I mean, I felt more sorry probably for the old people. I expected the outcome, to be honest. But I do hope we get to a point where Australia feels it is the right thing to do at the very least, to start educating our young people about what actually occurred so the healing and truth-telling can occur so we can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, talking about, like, we jumped a bit from your Indigenous programs to from high school, but what else? You've also been involved with the university too, a few universities working. How was that working in the Indigenous unit?
Yeah, it's interesting because for a long time I didn't think I was in Indigenous education. You know, I kind of thought, yeah, I'm Aboriginal, but I didn't realise till, I don't know when, it occurred to me probably 5 years ago that I had actually made my career in Indigenous education and business in terms of working in alternative programs or programs that lifted or tried to work on the improvement of Aboriginal people. So I've had a journey sort of leading Indigenous student success units in 3 of the major universities in Queensland. I've been involved in a large not-for-profit that put 2,000 Indigenous students through school-based traineeships, but always had my own business and consultancy. And I think I pay homage to my grandparents around that. If I look back, out of all of us kids on that right side, right Morris Widders, I'm an Anawan Dungari woman, so I look at that side of the family and nearly every single one of us are in our own business or have been at some point in time. So if people ask me what I do, I still think my real passion is business innovation and sort of problem solving. And
yeah, but you did work for the university. You'd worked in a few there, and I know that we went to a couple of the graduation ceremonies for some of the students there, and you obviously enjoyed the culture and experience around those areas too to influence not only the staff but the students there as well.
Yeah, I struggle with the word leader, but I love leading people. I love leading teams. I think it's the best type of leadership is servant leadership, where you're being the example of what leadership should look like and get in and do the work with everyone. But that's something very deep to my heart, is watching our students come through a space that has traditionally not been a place of safety or comfort or familiarity, tertiary education. I myself came to university late, and I'm still, like, just recently graduating from postgrad studies at Melbourne Business School in Indigenous business leadership, and even then I sort of spoke about they're just not comfortable places we feel are natural. And I'm proud to have been involved in, 3 universities and their Indigenous student centres, where I've been part of watching those students come through, graduate, just seeing their journeys. I always say this at every graduation, that it is the student success staff, not the lecturers, not scholarships, like all those things contribute, but every single time they stand up and thank people at their graduation, it's always the student success staff who made them a cup of tea or just said, keep moving forward, or come in, bub, there's a space here for you, you're welcome, how can we, get you to just keep moving forward. Yeah. And I think that feels like a win to me. Like, I think that's huge.
The underestimated stuff that you don't know actually makes an impact.
Yeah.
And keep going and make them feel like they're part of a community.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't think this was going to be a podcast about my Indigenous history or career journey as much, but the other thing I've really loved seeing was there's about 250 of us now that have come through the Melbourne Mini Masters of Business program at Melbourne Business School. Dr. Michelle Evans created it. Now it's become its own Indigenous business centre, Doa at Melbourne Business School. But I raise that because it was so rewarding to be part of an environment where the deficit didn't exist. I mean, we would be in rooms where there was hundreds of millions of dollars being brought in the country by Indigenous business, and that was so uplifting. It was so empowering to just see that for once we were celebrated and capable and actually told by non-Indigenous lecturers that Indigenous people are incredibly entrepreneurial and were so resilient and capable of finding solutions where often others wouldn't. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was good.
I was going to ask you about your postgrad certificate. What did it feel like to get that award and get through that study?
It's always, to me, about the kids. Like, I do it so my children are proud of me. Like, I think I just want them to have a different life to me. And I, again, have probably done everything the wrong way around. And I think that's in itself a lesson to other people not to walk anyone else's path. Like, even in terms of earning money or the way I would approach life, and I do put that down to my younger and unusual upbringing, that I have always backed myself in and felt confident to sort of find solutions where others wouldn't. So university, even though it was a win for my family, it was more about saying to my children, you'll get there in your own way, on your terms. Don't do anyone else's journey. You don't have to be like anyone else. You can just step through your path. And I say that to all of the students I've worked with as well, that it's just about stepping forward. It doesn't have to be the way everyone else thinks it should be. So trust that innate strength within you to just lead you the way you need to be. Like, I think everyone's really different, and I like that I probably don't conventionally follow the rules. It gets me in a bit of trouble at times.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said about now in education with young people being really careful not to, take that creativity, that unique offering they have, and systemise them too much. I think that's actually a skill.
I was going to talk about, we pivoted a bit there too, about talking about your postgrad, but also your kids being proud of you. What's it been like being a mother through all that stuff? Like I know you said it's really important to you at the start that, you're a family member and you're a mother and a wife and that, but what's it mean these days to be a successful mother? How does that even fare these days?
Oh, I wouldn't put that in a box because it's so different for every one of us as parents. But I would say that a big thing for me is that, and it's of no disrespect to my aunt and uncle, but there were so many of us and life was so busy and working so hard to survive, raising 8 kids, that there was a lot of situations where I wasn't protected. And that's been a really big thing with me, is that I didn't have somebody who showed up for me or watched my things or warned me about certain things or kept me safe. So there were some things I went through that I've worked really hard to make sure my own family doesn't go through. And so even it's important to give a shout out to Declan, who's 21 this year, but and I'm so proud of him. Falling pregnant with him and leaving university, I was studying law and psychology at the time, and I left, and I had my son, and I left when he was 3 months old, left his father. And that child changed my life. That child gave me a sense of value. I mean, it wasn't for me, it was for him. So everything became about giving him a better life. I was still probably working through a lot of my childhood trauma. I had my own self-sabotage patterns, got mixed up in a lot of the wrong things, harmed myself in so many ways. And now becoming a mother has blessed me with that drive to do it better, to live better, to realise the value. Like they're the greatest blessing. I mean, we are so blessed. We have such beautiful kids, and I am so proud of them. And so what does a mother mean to me now? I don't have secrets from my kids. I show up for them every single day. I tell them I love them every day, often more than once. I let them know that no matter what it is they go through, even if I'm disappointed or upset, I will show up for them. I have really incredible, open, deep conversations with my children. I get lots of it wrong, but I apologise when I do. And I teach them to do the same with respect and love for one another. I'm still not into solving their problems for them. I listen and we talk it through, but though I can give them tools, I don't try and fix it for them. And I hold them accountable. That's still a big thing. I think I'm pretty old school like that I don't, I had a conversation with my son and recently and said, don't come to me to justify your bad choices. It's my job to be your parent, not your friend. You've got friends. It's my job to make sure that there are boundaries, and if you are harming yourself or others or doing things that are life-threatening, then I'm going to have something to say about it. So I think it's still – see a lot of parents seem to not be comfortable to set boundaries, like they're frightened that their children are going to dislike them. I can live with my children disliking me if I've pulled a firm line that has created a boundary in them that means that they are respectful of themselves or others. Yeah, I think I'm still,
Well, I think even as a parent or even like as an educator, you find that kids they actually love the boundaries. At the time they don't, but they still respect that. But I think you're right about a lot of people are wanting just to not have the conflict and maybe just try and solve the problems for everyone. And that just makes the kids or whoever they are, it weakens their resilience.
It also is a bit of a safety thing for me too, that your children need to learn to say no to things in life and to people and to situations that are not right for them. So if we always tell our children yes, then they don't ever understand those boundaries. I think that's a big thing is that I laugh when I say I've now got one through the gate because we still are going through it, Decky and I, both of us together. But I would always say to him when he would ask me controversial questions like, I don't know, can I sleep over my girlfriend's? That's not a really big one, but can I go and stay away for the weekend? And he might have been 15 or 16. I would just say to him, would you let your younger sisters do that? And he'd look at me and he'd say, no chance. And I said, well, there's your answer.
There's your answer.
And, it's always about what you can live with. And I say to him, you are free to choose, but you are not free of consequence. So before you make that choice, weigh up the consequence. And if it is not something you would allow your little sisters to do or you would be concerned if they were doing, then there's your answer. So, yeah, I think it's an evolving relationship. And like I said, I'm not a perfect parent. I've got lots wrong. But I can confidently say my children love me and know they are loved.
So what have you got wrong? What would you do different? Is there a major one? Look, I love it. I love how you said free of choice, but not free of consequence. But you got to understand, teenage boys, we're a bit backwards in our brains. It takes us a while we easily get things wrong fast. But I'd like how you speak to him about, I think when we do get the time to have a thought of our consequences, and I love how you put the girls in between that, it does actually make them have that empathy. I think that's the biggest thing because Declan's got a big heart, so he'll go, oh, yeah, actually, no, I don't feel that's right. But getting back to the question, is there anything you would look back now and change?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I worked way too hard. I thought that building my children an empire with finance or more than financial stability, but everything that opens and shuts, as we say, was important. I wanted them to have the best of everything. Maybe, again, that's a reflection of my upbringing, but what I realised was that they didn't need the money, they needed me. Mm-hmm. And so I can tell you moments where Declan was in the capsule underneath the desk at work as an executive in government, or when Mila was being breastfed under a table at a board meeting in Uluru when she was 10 days old. I think my 11-year-old son was helping pack up my house in a removal when I was flying around the country somewhere.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I look back now and I lost some really special time with them as little young people because I thought that I was making them proud of me by being some executive leader.
Yeah.
And now I look back and Decky and I talk about it. I mean, they just need us. Like that's the biggest thing now. I mean, he's heading down the path of double degree in law and international relations, has lots of money saved, has no debt, plays rugby, has a beautiful girlfriend, has great friends, and all I see from him is this incredible amount of pressure that he puts on himself to be this perfect human. And all I really want for him is just to be happy.
Just to be.
Right? And to have peace. And as you get older and you wear yourself out 3 times over and you go through a lot, you realise that all that really, really matters is the mark you leave on people. And that's been a big learning for me because, look, I've nearly exhausted myself trying. Well, I have. It's probably self-validation. It's probably trying to be enough, probably trying to prove I'm enough, that I'm not the orphan or the wild person who caused all the trouble, or all of the stories or the narratives we take on from our, beat up childhoods. I've worked really hard to change that narrative, but I've also been incredibly too hard on myself, and now I watch a son who's incredibly hard on himself. So the learning is for me is to be kinder to myself and to be able to reflect that to my children, to be able to say to them, you are enough, and building a great quality community around you of friends and family is far more important than things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably a big
So you touched on a few things there, like having quality time, spend that time with them and knowing that is enough rather than things. Is there anything that you think, whether it's parenting or I guess, just communication or connection in general that is unspoken? Do you think there's anything out there that our listeners listening to you now in your journey, is there stuff that you think that, at the moment the world's, or our community, is there stuff that's really annoying or frustrating that people aren't truthful about or keep quiet?
I think when you come from a life of loss early on in life, you have a real sense of life being a very short moment in time. Like it can be all taken away from you. And I think I've probably seen or been, I've seen the worst of life very quickly, very early on in life. So I have a great respect for the people I love around me. The advice, like if I was ever to give any, is it goes by in a moment and it can change so quickly and it can all be taken away from you and some really horrible things can happen. Don't forget to tell the people around you, especially your children, like how valuable it is that you've been given a gift to be their parent, that you've got to have that, dynamic. Like I'm really conscious of that as losing my parents, you're always seeking still that validation of being loved by an adult parent or whatever, I think. So I now try and create in my kids that story that they know no matter what happens, they can never look back, my children, and say, she didn't love us, she didn't tell us, she didn't nurture us, she wasn't there for us. That I'm confident of. But the other thing I would say is that being authentic, being vulnerable, it's so frightening. And I avoided love and commitment for a really long time because of my fear. And I can actually remember when my mum was screaming over my father as he died, I remember thinking to myself, I will never be in love. I will never do this. I will never get married because that's way too frightening because it can all get taken away from you. And as you know, I only got married very recently. So it was a pattern that followed me.
He must be so special.
He's amazing.
Let's talk about that for the next hour, shall we, on the podcast. It's very important.
But my point is that I created a narrative because of pain I'd suffered. I got stuck in my story for a really long time. And so I would like to say to people that you aren't what happened to you 10 years ago. You aren't that trauma. You aren't that pain. You aren't that hurt. You get to choose. If you look at the statistics of what I should have become as a result of my upbringing and what happened 100%. To me, it wouldn't be where I am now. So I think, it's a hard thing and a lot of people will resent me for saying this, but you do get to choose. You stay stuck in your drama and your trauma and you get to decide if you take all of that pain and bitterness out on other people. I squarely believe you get to choose whether your life improves or whether you make that victim martyrdom story forever. And that's what I guess I say to my kids. Well, yeah, that happened. Yep, it wasn't great. but you still get to write the next chapter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think too many of us get stuck for too long, and I think it's such a waste of the potential, beautiful blessing life is. I think you can really miss it.
Yeah, and I love that because you look at the positives of all that stuff in life. Everyone can always talk about how bad things are and look at your past for sure. Like, like you said, statistics could say that, going through trauma, a lot of trauma, so chances are you're going to go through trauma and it's going to be intergenerational going forward, but you've been a positive role model for like all of our kids really. So
I just would finish by saying too that it's really important to me not to repeat the cycles, to bring my intergenerational trauma, my current trauma, like I went through in my life, through to my children's. I mean, they don't deserve to deal with all that. That's not them. They're young children. They've got their own lives, and it would be selfish of me to put that on them. So I've been really conscious of never, dwelling on that. Like I still find it incredibly uncomfortable to talk about tonight. Like I know you've asked me, but as you would know, it's not something I ever really bring up because I just see it as that's done now.
Yeah.
It's done.
And I love that. I think it was Arnie's book I just read recently. He just said you can be from whoever you want from now if you want. You can start. You do not have to be your past. And I think a lot of us get stuck on that loop because that's how our mindset is. It's how our society often is. It tries to keep us, like you said, in the box, not trying to break the small rules to get ahead or be our authentic selves. And it's scary. Sometimes it looks like that Truman Show in the same thing every single day.
Yeah, I think too that we carry lots of people from our past. It's normal, you accumulate friends and family, and unfortunately sometimes you have to let some of those people go because they are stuck in their story, and we all have that person who every time you speak to them there is a drama, there is a trauma, there is a constant narrative about what they've suffered or what they're going through or how hard it is. And I'm not trying to say that people aren't genuinely struggling. We all have. But I think you've got to be careful to guard your mind. You've got to be really careful who you let near your energy, because the circle that you swim with defines who you become. And I think it's again, I said a choice for you to have to continue staying in that pool, I suppose. What's that saying? I love that one where it says if you look around your circle and you're not inspired or learning or growing, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. And so I love that one.
That's cool. Before we get into some serious fun questions, talk to me about the latest dreams and goals. What's on the horizon? Because I can feel it now.
Well, probably the last thing anyone in my past would ever have expected me to do is to purchase a chapel. It hasn't burnt down, I'd like everyone to know. Not yet. But you and I have embarked on this beautiful little, I think it's a beautiful combination of us, of our upbringings, of our faith, of our dreams, our hopes. Growing up in the country, I think we both wanted a slice of heaven, and that is what this is. But it also brings with it a lot of hope and excitement for a space for the family, a place to give to community. We've talked about, putting on weddings and events, and you're going to become a celibate, and I'm definitely not going to do that. But I'll be there to, bring life into the space, and hopefully it'll be a place that other people find sanctuary and peace and get to celebrate their significant moments in. I think we're going to maybe do another wedding there for each other. Maybe you can marry us. I'm hoping we get to marry our kids there. It's just exciting. There's something. It's just something that's got us all really excited about. The children are really excited. We're meeting a beautiful community of people. It's fresh air and beautiful energy, and
this feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Feels right.
So that's the fun business project. Yeah,
I can't wait. All right, well, we've gone through a fair bit of heavy stuff, so let's get into some fun stuff now. This is what I'm actually looking forward to your answers here. So I might have to censor some later, but we'll see how we go. Are you ready for this? Okay. This is going to be like a word association game. So the first thing that comes to your mind, you have to sort of say an answer straight after it. Okay, and there'll be non-brownie points if you get these wrong. Here we go.
Yep.
Ready? We'll start with the hard ones first. Why you got your eyes closed for?
Because I'm concentrating and I'm not laughing at
Here
you.
you go. Ready? Love.
So important for the soul. I'm only allowed to say one word, aren't I?
Look, this is not going to go well.
I don't listen well.
It's one word.
Okay.
Family.
Everything.
Netflix in bed. She's coming around. Don't worry about that.
Distracting.
Sex and the City.
Gold.
Seinfeld.
I don't know that is one word, but he is definitely the other man in our relationship.
That shares a bed with us.
Yeah.
So, Crazy Cattle Dogs.
Crazy.
Mount Me.
Peace.
Community.
Connection.
Friendships.
Loyalty.
Cooking.
Happy place.
Date night.
Very good.
Business.
Inspires me.
Working as an employee.
Terrible.
Early mornings.
Not great.
You changed. All right, here comes some more fun stuff. How about the first thing that comes into your mind with these ones? Okay, ready? Lollies or chocolate?
Chocolate.
What kind do you like the best?
As in what type of chocolate?
Yeah.
Too many. Chocolate bullets.
Yeah, so you started the old Jamaican and fruit nut because you didn't want to share with me. He likes that stuff, honestly. Favourite food?
Italian.
Favourite movie?
I'm going to go Denzel Washington. What are they?
Equalisers.
Equalisers.
You love the revenge.
Yeah.
Favourite drink? It can be alcoholic and non-alcoholic, whichever one.
Okay, well, my favourite non-alcoholic one is the one we get from the markets. You know, the
the slushy ones at your Monday
ones.
markets.
Yeah,
Oh my
the fruit
gosh,
ones.
they're good.
They're good.
Favourite night out?
Favourite night out? We don't really go out a lot.
I don't know if that's a dig at me or not, but anyway.
No, it wasn't. I think we're just getting older.
Ouch.
Favourite night out? I don't know. I always like it when you're out to dinner. We're having a little wine and chatting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about your favourite outfit?
Favourite outfit? I don't know. I get in trouble saying this, but I like my jeans and my boots. I feel like I put on my boots and my jeans and I don't know.
Your Billy?
Yeah, maybe.
Favourite leisure activity?
Reading, it's a luxury.
What is the worst human trait?
There's a couple, but disloyalty.
What's your favourite then? What's the best human trait? Is it loyalty then?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favourite characteristics in a partner?
This feels like a loaded question.
There's so many here.
Yeah, there's so many. Favourite traits, incredible father,
Oh, no, you have to say.
romantic. No, I'm not talking about you.
Let's move on. Favourite music? Don't you dare say country.
Yep, country music. That's it.
It is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Do you have a favourite country song?
Favourite country song.
None of them are very good, are they? Like,
There's so many. It's just not
you can't
possible
even think
to
of one
name
because they're not very
one.
good.
I can.
3 country rule in our song, our house.
You have to keep going because there's too many.
Okay. Best thing about your amazing husband? So many.
He's romantic. He's so romantic.
Thank you. What's the worst thing about your amazing husband?
He's very annoying. He's very hyperactive. He's got ADHD, and if he's awake, I'm awake. So.
That's the podcasting comes so handy. Get down to your room and talk to yourself. No worries. All right, last 3. And appreciate all the serious stuff, being open and vulnerable. Down to your last $20. What are you buying?
$20.
Yeah, down to the last 20. I've got an idea what you'd buy, but you go first and
Okay,
see if
now
I'm
you
right.
tell me and I'll tell you if you're right.
No, we're not going to play that game.
Down to my last $20. I don't know. I really don't.
Well, you're going to pick something over here or not.
Well, I think we might be. Probably a card for my husband, write him a beautiful note.
That's what I was going to say. No, I was actually going to say the mockers out near Brad's place. A nice big thick dairy, like made on milk chocolate.
I think it would be cards to my kids and you about how much I love you guys.
Nice. Okay. What about if you're down to your last meal? Like, let's say the law did catch up with all the things you did do in your past, and they said, mate, you are definitely going to jail and death row's back. Okay. What is your last meal going to be before you walk down?
I think it's like a good seafood marinara.
Your jambalaya is good too.
Oh, that's my jambalaya.
Should we have that tomorrow night? Okay. And last one, Desert Island, you can take 3 people with you. Well, 2 other people with you.
Because what, you have to come, right?
I have to come. That's lovely, isn't it? Because you have to come.
I can hear our friend Amy laughing at this place.
Oh, dear. You're taking 3 people with you.
Oh, you'll think I'm a sucker, but I'm definitely, and I want to say the family. So, but if it's only 3.
Yeah. Let's forget the family at the moment.
You mean more people that I'm interested in?
Yeah, 3 people on the island, you know. Like some people said Gordon Ramsay.
It's so lame, but I'd have to pick someone like Maya Angelou or Oprah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Someone like that. Who else? I wouldn't mind Jim Carrey because he just cracks me up. Like, he's so funny. I would like a good comedian, and I like someone who can make me laugh.
Yeah. The only thing is with you, your laughter goes to, when you're with someone for a while, you don't find things funny anymore when someone's always funny.
You're not funny, darling. But
I'm not talking
okay.
about me necessarily. So, yeah, Jim Carrey. Let's go Oprah, Jim Carrey.
Oprah. I know.
Who?
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, you like Dr. Joe.
Help me, get my Zen on.
Get Zen on before you die on the island. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Mm-hmm. All right.
That's my answer.
We'll go with that. Thank you for coming on the show. On Gito Unspoken.
You're welcome.
It's good. Nothing was planned. It's good.
It's very nerve-wracking, isn't it? Well, I think because you're asking me deep questions.
You don't like the unspoken stuff, but the stuff has to come out. Anyway, thank you. And I'm sure a lot of people like to hear your story too, and maybe even contact you for more in depth of that story. So,
love you, darling.
Love you too. I know.